morning, book fighters. Today is Monday, April 11th, and this week I'm coming at you sitting down on a chair, because if I'm not in this way, if I'm not like this, then I'm not coming to you at all, because I am shattered. So you'll have to bear with the kind of casualness of this situation. This week I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, as well as painting and helping to decorate my nan's house. So that is what I've been doing for the last 2 days, 3 days. That is what I will be doing tomorrow. Luckily, before I started doing that, though, I'd all but finished this, as it is very short. So luckily I was able to get through it fairly comfortably. One of the reasons why I haven't reread Harry Potter since I read it the first time was because I thought, well, what's the point? Katie asked a question the other week about why I read books, and I feel like one of the main elements why I read the Harry Potter books was because of the plot. You know what it's like. At the end of every chapter, she leaves you on this cliffhanger. You have to find out what happens. They are famously extremely difficult to put down. And so I felt like, well, knowing what happens and knowing the reasons behind everything, I mean, these are essentially, at least the early ones, are mystery novels. So knowing that going in, I wasn't sure how rereading it would go down. But having said that, I really did enjoy rereading it, but obviously for different reasons than I enjoyed it the first time. One of the things you get from rereading it is the detail in the concepts that she puts forward. She puts forward so many concepts per novel that the films could never pick up. Like, for example, early on in this book, the idea of gnoming in the burrow, and they have to kind of spin around and throw the gnomes out the garden so they're dizzy, so they don't know which way to come back in. It's just a glorious concept, and it really fills out the burrow and the whole kind of, and the way she describes the kitchen as well, with the clocks and everything and the dishes doing themselves. It's just really fills out the idea of that place, and all these little concepts that she puts in. I was almost rereading it this time with a kind of admiration of it, just a kind of well done Queen Rowling. And ultimately that was the main reason that propelled me through this book and kind of made me enjoy it for a second time as well, was the admiration of everything. The structure of the books is exquisite. The way the chapters just fold in and out of each other, the way something's placed there to be revealed later, the kind of red herrings that just drop in and out so elegantly. And they're not particularly flamboyantly written, which is what I usually like in a book. They're not big complex language and that sort of thing, but they do have this kind of beautiful simplicity to them. They're almost exactly what they need to be. The other thing I felt reading it this time was that this is very much a kid's book, and obviously the last one wasn't. I mean, it kind of drifts into YA. It's one of these rare things where she has an audience in mind when she writes Philosopher's Stone, and she, instead of writing for that audience the next 7 times, she follows that audience and writes for them until they're, however old, which is a glorious thing. But it's a kid's book without being patronising at the same time. The other thing is that I feel like the characters in this were very kind of stiff, almost. And that's not really a fault to her, but when you get to book 7, you have such a wealth of experience with these characters that you kind of know how they're going to react. They're far more familiar to you. They seem a lot freer. There's space for them to vary. Like, if they make a kind of shocking decision, you know it's shocking because you've read what their character already is, so you have a kind of basis. In these early books, she doesn't really have that freedom, so the characters are a lot stiffer. A lot more rigid. There's a lot less leeway for her, and that's something else I noticed. But nevertheless, I did really enjoy it, and despite that, though, I'm not going to be reading Azkaban next week. I said I was going to reread the whole series, and there are 2 reasons why I'm not going to do that. Well, at least why I'm not going to do that in order and in a row. The first reason is because I feel like next week's video will just be the same as this week's video. And the second reason is I've started reading a fanfiction. It's about Harry and Draco. It's called Eclipse. It's novel length, and it's sensational. I have been just completely hooked. I've read about half of it, which is about 70,000 words. It's really long, and it has just gripped me, and it should be canon. It should be the main story. Yes, there's Slash in it, but it's not cheap in any way. It feels completely believable, and it's beautiful, and I just can't get enough of it. And if you haven't read it, I completely recommend it, because I can recommend it to any Harry Potter fan. It's absolutely stunning. I don't use them words lightly. There's a link in the description. Make sure you read it, because it will blow you away. And unlike Rowling's prose, it is really written elegantly, and there is a lot of kind of swirling language and metaphor. I tweeted a line that I particularly liked, and it honestly, it's stunning. Please take my word for it. Well, don't take my word for it. Go and try it yourself. So I was looking through my bookshelf for what to read next week, and I came across this. It's a book called The Thief Lord, and I've had it since 2002, and I know this because there's an inscription on the first page. I got it for a Christmas present, and I thought, well, I'll look and see who it's by, and it was by Cornelia Funk, or Funke, and I thought, I know that woman. It was written before Inkheart, and I thought, wow. So I looked inside, and it's set in Venice, and I thought, I've been to Venice. So it's about a thief lord. It's YA. It's by an author that I like. I've had it for 9 years, and I have never read it. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer, really. That's what I'm reading this week, and I'm tremendously excited. Okay, that is all for me this week. My question remains, do you have a wand? And if you do, I'd like to see it. Katie, you asked a question about characters that we can relate to, and I've only just remembered that you asked that question, and I can't answer it today because I haven't thought about it, and it's something I'd like to think about, so I'll answer it next week. Okay, that is all from me, Bookfighters Lauren. I will see you tomorrow.